Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to our friends in Basque. Thank you for joining today's Basque Offshore Wind Seminar with advanced technology from Basque and collaboration between companies from Japan and Basque. I am 𝗲𝗯𝗷𝗲𝗲𝗲 from Basque Trade and Investment Japan, today's moderator. Today's agenda items. We are going to have presentations about the overview of Basque Country and its offshore wind industry, and then we will showcase specific technologies and collaboration between Japanese and Basque companies. We are going to provide Japanese businesses with information to consider working with Basque companies, which will make it easier for Basque businesses to operate in Japan. This will be a great opportunity to know Basque companies for Japanese companies. Great insights will be there. So we have many presentations, but I really hope that we are going to have lively discussions and great presentations. Enjoy. Without further ado, we have limitation of time. We are going straight into the opening remarks from Mr. Yoshinori Ueda, General Manager for Communication, the Japan Wind Power Association. Mr. Ueda, the screen is yours.
上田さん、ミュートを切ってもらった方がいいかもしれないですね。失礼しました。聞こえますか？
Can you hear me?
はじめまして、日本風力発電協会で国際部長をしている上田と言います。
I'm Ueda from Japan Wind Power Association. So thank you very much for joining this seminar.
日本はようやく2022年
Japan has just begun the commercial offshore wind turbines in Akita, in Noshiro, and Nyuzen, and Ishikari Shinko. So we have already started operation in these places. Then we plan to start operation in Hibikinada. So we are just starting our operation of offshore wind in this country. For offshore wind in place, then construction is important. However, more importantly, we need to secure the industry. We need to invite foreign businesses and hire people in Japan. So there's no WTG companies in Japan. People say no established supply chain in Japan. However, in the world, there are countries which can operate offshore wind without having those countries. There are many success cases. The number one example is Basque Country in Spain. So maybe not many Japanese people have strong interest in Basque, but in Spain, there are only two offshore wind. One is in Canary Island, 5 megawatt demonstration one. The other is the Bilbao Basque, so 2 megawatt floating platform wind. So the fixed bottom commercial offshore wind is not available in Spain now. However, in Europe, among offshore wind farms, then the supply chain in Basque is very pronounced in Europe. Whenever you find offshore wind in Europe, then jacket or monopile foundations or towers or other components, many of them have their origin in Basque. So why is it so? Because Basque country, it has a long tradition of the Great Oceanic period, so it has the shipbuilding tradition. So the Basque has its heavy industry tradition. So without having the wind turbines locally, or although they do not have WTG maker, but the Basque has secured its position in the wind offshore. So this is quite significant. So today, for Japanese companies and its managers, then in order for you to have more interest in Basque success cases. So some companies have really prospered in Basque. Then I think today we are going to have great opportunities to know more about them. So maybe in future, those technologies can find its way to Japan. Therefore, Japan may be able to establish its supply chain. So local content 60% is the government's goal. So I think this will help to achieve that goals. We have many presentations today, however, so the presentations about offshore wind in Basque, and also we have many other presentations, for example, some specific technologies such as 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for great opening message. Then, from now, we are going to have today's presentations. And so, we are going to have the Q&A session at the end of this session. So if you have questions, you can punch in your questions in the chat box on the YouTube platform. So you can type in your questions when you have one, without waiting for the end of this session. And also, please make sure that to whom your question go to. So it's possible that you won't be able to answer all the questions, so some answers may reach you after closing today's seminar. So we invite many questions. We welcome you. Then firstly, we are going to have the presentation from Ms. 𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲, Director, Basque Trade and Investment, Japan. This will be the overview of Basque Country and its offshore industry.
Thank you for the kind introduction. I'd like to share my screen for my presentation. Are you seeing the slide now? As just introduced, I am 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗲, Director of the Basque Trade and Investment Japan. Thank you very much for the attendance today. I'm very happy to see many representatives from Japanese companies and government agencies. And then we like to my thanks goes to the JETRO and then other organizations who are very much supportive to this seminar. And the Basque Trade and the Investment is under the Sustainability and the Environment Ministry of Spain to support the various support and activities. And the Japan office was established in 2022, so this is the third year. And what we do is to support the Japanese companies go into the business in Basque Country and vice versa. We offer business matching opportunities and promotional events and arrange tours both in the Basque Country and Japan. Recently in Japan, we have a kind of the buzz of the Basque cheesecake, which is very now popular in the Japanese people. Therefore, the awareness towards the Basque Country has been raised in Japan. Having said that, about the industry and the Basque Country itself is not well known by Japanese people. Therefore, first I'd like to show the overview of the Basque Country. This is called 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗲 or called Basque Country in English. This is the autonomous community whose land area is 7,234 kilometers with the population of 2.1 million, which is equivalent to Miyagi Prefecture in Japan. Among the 17 municipalities, the Basque Country is a little small in size, but located on the north side facing Atlantic Sea and have a good access to European major markets. In Spain, the Basque Country has a very high autonomous power, and among autonomous communities, the Basque Country has an authority to impose and collect taxes. Therefore, the Basque Country is very independent and then have a high autonomy in terms of the policy setting and implementation. About the industry policy, as Mr. Ueda mentioned at the beginning, the steel industry was the major industry in the Basque, as well as shipbuilding industry. But in the 1980s, as a result of the industrial crisis, and then as the recovery strategy from that crisis, the Basque government decided to focus on innovation, technology, and science. And then in 1990s, the cluster system was introduced. And then Basque Country is a home to many small and medium-sized companies. Therefore, they are collaborating with each other, establishing a great network to increase productivity. And we provide various support to Basque industries, and also at the same time offer various events such as seminar today to provide the promotional activities for various companies. And as I said earlier, the steel industry and shipbuilding were the major industry in this area traditionally, but nowadays our main industries include energy, automotive, advanced machinery, and so on. In terms of the automotive production, the country is the second in the European in Europe, following the Germany. We have a great automotive production. And in terms of the energy sector, there are about 350 companies in the area, and then the sales is about 460 billion yen. And offshore wind power generation, we have Iberdrola, which is one of the largest wind farm operators. And then we have the Gamesa. Now it is called Siemens Gamesa. These two were originated in Basque Country. And then they are driving the momentum of the industry in the Basque Country, and then also leveraging the know-how and the technology of the shipbuilding and steel industry. This area has been developed as the industrial cluster, and particularly offshore wind farm projects are now being developed and implemented. And the Basque Country has an advantage of the deep sea, and this is very suited for the floating type. And for the fixed bottom type wind farms, the Basque companies have gone to the abroad to join the overseas projects. And then later on, the Basque Energy Cluster will make presentations on this topic. The manufacturing industry is the major industry in this country. And then among the 27 EU countries, and an average of that, we have surpassed in the various indices C, and then GDP, we accounted for about 25% of the total GDP. And then 30% of the manufacturing countries has the overseas businesses, and not just in Europe, and then also the US and the Latin America and Asia. These companies are very much aggressive to moving abroad. And then also the Japanese, the partnership with Japanese companies also are on the rise. And the technology and innovation is the focus of the reform, which is done by the government. And then the government encouraged the private sector to establish various R&D activities and research activities. And then about 20,000 people are engaged in R&D activities. When you think about the 2 million people as population, you see how large the R&D scientists we have in the Basque Country. And then within the Basque Country, in order to increase the innovation and the transformation, we have established the Basque Energy and Technology Alliance that is comprised with 17 research areas in this area. And then that also includes the research organization called Technaria. And then many startup companies span from this organization. The Basque Country, even though it's small in size, is blessed with the high level of technology and innovation. And then Basque companies are not well known yet by the Japanese companies. So therefore, there might be some concerns by the Japanese companies in order to have the partnership with the Basque countries. And then our BT&I is willing to help and support those Japanese companies to collaborate with Basque companies. And then we have some specific examples by Iberdrola and then Kansai Electric Power companies. I hope this will be giving good insights to you. With this, I'd like to conclude my presentation for the overview of the Basque country. And if you are interested in Basque and would like to know more about the Basque country, or if you have any idea to contact some specific companies in the specific area, we are located in Japan. Therefore, please just feel free to contact us at any time. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kato. And next, I'd like to invite Mr. 𝗲𝗯𝗷𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗄, the General Manager of the Basque Energy Cluster, which is a group of more than 300 energy-related companies, R&D institutions, and public agencies. And Mr. 𝗲𝗯𝗷𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗄 will introduce the strengths of the offshore wind industry in the Basque country.
Hello, thank you very much for the introduction. And first of all, I am pleased to share with all our Japanese colleagues the presentation we are going to make of this general overview of the offshore wind energy sector and activities in the Basque country. And later on, the companies that will also share with us the technologies and the products they are developing. I want to thank also very especially Mr. Ueda for the kind words he has with the Basque country and with the Basque industry every time we meet. And he certainly knows very well our activities, so he's really an expert in the industrial activities, not only in Japan, but I would say all over the world. So thank you very much for that reference. I will be very short, just giving the overview of how the offshore wind is one of the main sectors, one of the main value chains in our association. We work from the Basque Energy Cluster, helping companies in the development of technologies and also in international activities. That's why we contacted many years ago with all these associations and companies around Japan, and we are keeping this close contact throughout the recent years. The wind sector, the offshore wind sector, is very powerful in the Basque country because it was born some 30 years ago when all the wind energy deployment took place in Spain. And a lot of companies from these industrial sectors that also Mrs. Kato has been mentioning very well, they diversified into the wind industry. And that's why nowadays we can count around 150 wind energy companies that employ more than 5,000 people here in the Basque country, working in factories, in research departments, engineering of the wind sector. And as you see, almost 10% of the people working in the Basque country are working in technology, in the development of the research and development projects that make it possible this competitive position. For the offshore wind, it has been also very important the activities of the maritime sector in the Basque Country. A lot of traditional industries here, producing, manufacturing ships, vessels, and all the different equipment needed for the maritime industry. So it's also one of the combination of the wind energy sector and the maritime sector has made it possible this competitiveness in the offshore wind sector. As Mr. Ueda has very well mentioned, you can find components for platforms, monopiles, towers, and components even in the nacelle of the wind turbine in most of the offshore wind farms that are being built, not only in Europe, but also in Japan and recently also in the United States. So here you can see just a sample of the most relevant wind farms with Basque industry participation recently. But today I would also mention, because Mr. Ueda has also made a reference, and Mrs. Kato, around the floating wind specialization. In the last, I would say, 5 years, we have created a working group inside the Basque Energy Cluster with companies that are focusing their technologies and their developments in the emerging floating wind segment of the wind market. That's because we foresee that in the coming years, maybe in 5-10 years, most of the offshore wind farms that will be built will have to be installed in deep waters. In fact, the coast around Spain and around the Basque Country is essentially deep water. So we will need very efficient, effective, and reliable technologies in floating wind to make it possible the deployment of offshore wind farms in many places around the world. That's why we launched this working group with companies specialized in developing the technologies, especially floating platforms and other connected technologies for developing these floating wind farms. Why or what do these companies working here in the Basque Country in floating wind, what do they have? We like to claim, or we like to say that we can count on the companies first. The most relevant asset we have in the Basque Country is the companies that, as I mentioned before, they have been working and being competitive in the very demanding wind sector for many years. We have the experience because I mentioned that companies are already working in most offshore wind farms around the world, but also we have right now the experience in some of the first prototypes and demo installations of floating platforms in the world. And the technology, it's very relevant, as I showed you before, in the percentage of researchers in deployment in the Basque Country. It's very relevant for us to keep continuously the development of new technologies, of innovations in the products that make it possible that these companies are competitive. I will very briefly go around these three issues: the companies, the experience we have, and the technology that companies are developing. And we would be very glad, that's why we show this, that these companies are eager to share with partners, with colleagues, with customers in Japan, the experience they have and the technology they are developing. First, the companies in the Basque Country. In this working group we created in the Basque Energy Cluster, it's very, I would underline that there are 5 companies that are developing different concepts of floating foundations. As you probably know, there are a lot of engineering firms developing floating foundations of different with different methodologies and different systems. More than 50 probably you can find if you see the different congresses and exhibitions. 5 of those are working here in our working group. You can see there the name of the companies and a snapshot, a drawing or a scheme of the concept they are developing. Most of them, they have already tested in the laboratories the scale models of these platforms. One of them I will mention later, 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗃, in fact, has installed a demo installation, a real demo installation here in the Basque Coast. And also the sixth member, you can see in the top of the slide, 𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲. This entity is a testing site that is available here in the Basque Coast, where the 𝗲𝗃𝗲 demo prototype has been installed, and some others. We hope that in the coming years, other prototypes, other manufacturers of wind turbines and floating foundations will install them near of our coast. Mr. Ueda has mentioned also, and I will just make only a brief reference to the big leaders, the global leaders that we count in the Basque Country. These two companies, Iberdrola and Siemens Gamesa, they have their headquarters. They are global companies. You may know them, and they are active all around the world, including very present in Japan. Both of them are based headquartered in Bilbao. And Iberdrola is the main, I would say, developer of renewable energy, one of the leaders in the world, and specifically in in offshore wind, is one of the leaders in the world. They are very actively working in Japan, and in fact, one of the presentations will be by one of the one of the heads of Iberdrola in Japan. And Siemens Gamesa is nowadays the #1 manufacturer of offshore wind turbines. So the fact of having them with a lot of people and a lot of activity here in the headquarters in the Basque Country, it's very helpful for the value chain and for all the companies that are developing different solutions for these offshore wind farms. You can see there the rest of the companies that are working with them. We mentioned very especially the two leaders, but you can see that we have more than around 60 companies that are supplying components, engineering, installation and operation, towers and transition pieces for the floating solutions, the floating foundations themselves, the 5 companies I mentioned before, and also very relevant, and we always mention them. You can see the R&D centers, the research and development entities that are supporting all these companies in the development of the technology. So this is like a brief chart with which we like to show that the industry in the Basque Country is not only the two big leaders that are very important, but all of them, all the rest of the companies, some of them small and medium-sized companies that are providing as I said, the supplies and the technologies needed for the offshore wind farms. Also, in the floating segment, you can find Basque companies participating in the demo, and I would say in some cases, scale prototypes that are being built around the world. Basque companies participated in some of the first floating wind farms in the United Kingdom. You can see there 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗲 and 𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲 Scotland. Also in Norway, the 𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲 prototype had supplies and components of at least 5 Basque companies. France has also seen some participation of our companies. The demo project in 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲 is anchored to the moorings have been provided by a company, Basque company, 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲, that will also participate in the seminar. And also the demo SAF prototype that is here in the Basque test site by 𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲. I will not go deeply into it because also there will be a presentation from the Japanese responsible Japanese representative of these companies talking about this relevant project. You can see there that's the prototype, the 2 megawatts prototype of the 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲 solution that is here in 𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲. The partners, they have had to build this solution, but it will be later explained with more detail by the responsible of 𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗲. And to finish my introduction, just also a quick reference to the R&D projects. You can see there are just 5 of the titles of the areas in which Basque companies and the research entities are collaborating. You can see that some of them are specific for floating solutions. some for the development of components, the design even of the floating solutions, the operation and maintenance. So development of technology and collaboration between the different partners is one of the keys. And that's why we are very pleased always to share with Japanese colleagues our progress. We know also that some of the Japanese research centers, universities, and companies are making a lot of progress in some of these specific technologies. And that's why from the beginning we have considered that Japan can be a very good partner for the Basque companies for the development of technology and competitiveness, because our aim always is to be competitive by means of collaboration. That's the mission of a cluster, to make companies cooperate in the fields they are interested. So this is my last slide, because I will now pass the floor to my colleague here in the Basque Energy Cluster, Ander Gonzalez, that will show you which are the main pillars of the floating wind energy technology strategy. This working group of companies that we are coordinating from the Basque Energy Cluster, they have defined a roadmap. We could call it a roadmap or a strategy, in which they have highlighted which are the main technologies, the most relevant technologies that Basque entities and companies can provide and can supply. So that's the roadmap of the technologies we want to develop, and also the technologies we would like also to find the right partners and the right entities outside of the Basque Country to develop them in cooperation. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will pass the floor to Ander. Thank you.
Okay, hello. Can you hear me well? Everything correct? Okay, thank you. Yeah, as José Ignacio mentioned, I am Ander Gonzalez, International Activities Manager of the Basque Energy Cluster. I'm also active and responsible of some of the activities that are under development in the Basque Energy Cluster related to wind energy. So in this sense, I will present, as José Ignacio mentioned, the floating offshore wind technology strategy that we have developed. And yeah, for that, I will share my screen again. Okay, sorry, yeah. So yeah, this is a document that, as Ignacio mentioned, we have developed with 17 companies out of the 50 that are more or less 40-50 companies that are in the working group of floating wind. There were 17 companies that were more interested in this activity in developing this technology strategy. Also with the collaboration of seven R&D centers from the Basque Country that have been active in the development of this document, in the definition of the lines. You can see there, even it's a bit small, all the lines that we have identified that were of interest for the floating, for the companies that are working on the floating offshore wind industry here in the Basque Country. But I think that it is a quite good picture of the R&D activities that are under development in the floating offshore wind world, let's say. So in this document, we have defined 20 technological lines that you can see there inside 4 strategic areas of the floating offshore wind. These areas are the platform design, floating platform design and construction would be the first one. the installation, operation, and maintenance of these floating offshore wind platforms. Then inside the component side, the area of turbine, mooring, and auxiliary components, and also last but not least, also the resource and environmental impact analysis and studies. That is also quite important at this stage of the technology. So I will go roughly through all the areas and the lines that we have identified there. I won't go into the detail of each one because in the end it's quite a broad document, a lot of information. The document, it's available, it's public. You can find it on our website, or we can share it to the interested people after the webinar. It's a quite long document, about 30 pages, something like that, with a lot of information that could be of interest for the companies working on the floating offshore wind sector. So in the first area, the floating foundation design and construction, as we have mentioned during these first presentations, the Basque Country has well, as José Ignacio has mentioned, has a great number of technology developers in the floating offshore wind. Has a lot of companies that are manufacturers of different kind of components that could have a quite interesting focus on the floating offshore wind sector. But there is a lot of room for improvement of all the manufacturing of and design of the floating foundation and its components. So it's necessary to provide different kind of solutions in this area to progress and to develop new kind of developments in this sense. As you can see there, we have 4 areas that we have identified that could be of really great interest. The co-design of floating wind turbines, that's more focused on the control and developing a methodology that can control the systems and the subcomponents of as a whole of the wind turbines and the floating wind turbines. This is now critical for this sector, since it's very different in terms of movement from the bottom fixed wind turbines. Also, the integrated load analysis of methodologies is another of the lines. The load analysis it's a critical point in the design of the floating offshore winds, since, as I said, regarding the movement is not the same as the bottom fixed. So you have to consider the load analysis in the definition and the design of these floating offshore wind platforms. Again, the structural integrity calculation methodologies, it's another area that the companies and the R&D centers in the Basque Country have identified as critical, since these structures need to prevail and during many years and have to be stable in structurally speaking. So this is another critical area that they have identified. And of course, the design of for manufacturing and assembly, not only focusing on the materials itself, but also in the whole process of how to manufacture, how to assemble these big structures is going to be critical in the future. So the second area would be the installation, operation, and maintenance of floating offshore wind turbines. I mean, the operation and maintenance is in terms of the wind energy in general, it's a very important factor economically speaking, and in floating wind is also very important. And how to develop these operation and maintenance activities, the installation of these floating platforms is going to be critical in the future. I mean, right now, of course, since there are not a lot of floating offshore wind farms, the companies are more focused on maybe the first part of the design and the manufacturing of floating platforms. But we are very active also in the definition of operational maintenance for the future the floating offshore wind, since we see it as also critical how to develop this kind of activities. So in this sense, the first line identified was the one related to the mooring systems and dynamic cables. In this area, we have companies that are very active in those lines. One will be presented today, 𝗲𝗯𝗷𝗲𝗲𝗲, that is a manufacturer of mooring systems. But we also have companies very involved in the dynamic cable solutions, companies that have developed connectors for the floating offshore wind platforms or fiber optic systems, also related to the cables of these areas. So this will be, it's a critical line for the operation and maintenance, since it's something that is underwater that you cannot see, but you have to consider to have a maintenance of the mooring system or the dynamic cables at any point during the life of the floating offshore wind farms. So also in the second line would be the techno-economical analysis for operational maintenance decisions. This is quite an important also line, because to develop the operational maintenance, each floating platform, each floating offshore wind farm will have its point of, I mean, its differences. It's not the same one platform to another, so you have to develop a techno-economic analysis of how to make the operational maintenance for the life of this floating offshore wind farm. Also, depending on where it's going to be located, this will change. So these strategies will help to define the operational maintenance activities. So this is going to be critical also, how to develop this analysis. And also regarding the operational maintenance is critical, how to analyze and receive the information that the floating offshore wind farms are giving us during their lifetime. For that, we have companies also in the Basque Country that develop sensors or different kind of sensors for the structural integrity, but also for how is working the floating platform and the turbine itself. All this information is going to be critical for the development of the operational maintenance strategies. And also we have companies that not only looking at the sensors, but also looking for example, for the drones or the ropes that could be doing these operational maintenance activities, or watching for mistakes or different kind of errors that the machine is going to be giving during their lifetime. This is also part of this activity. Next, the area of turbine, mooring system, and auxiliary components. That's basically the different components that are going to be working in the floating offshore wind farm, from the mooring systems to the top of the nacelle of the wind turbine. We have a lot of companies that that develop and manufacture different components in the Basque Country for the whole wind turbine and the subsea part of the floating offshore platforms. So there are a lot of lines in this area, because there are a lot of companies working in these components. So you can see there the subsea power cables and accessories. As I said, there are companies that are very active in the dynamic cables and in the connectors and this kind of this kind of components for the HVDC and other kind of systems that electricity systems, electric components. Then there is the part of the mooring lines, as I talked earlier. Also, 𝗲𝗯𝗷𝗲𝗲𝗲 is a manufacturer of these mooring lines. Then specifically, we have a lot of companies also manufacturers of lifting and handling solutions for the wind energy sector, that are looking into the floating offshore wind also as a new route of developing new kind of lifting systems. As I said, the floating platform is always moving, and how to do operational maintenance and how to develop these activities with the lifts that are nowadays, it's complicated. So they have to develop new kind of lifting systems. Then the new anti-corrosion coatings. We have some companies also working in the anti-corrosion areas. Some with some kind of different solutions. For example, ceramic coatings. Also, companies that are working on new paints, that anti-corrosive paints and anti-fouling paints that could be of interest. Then regarding the digitalization part, also a lot of companies working on the multi-physics models for high power turbines. In the end, the offshore wind is going to be developed with higher power turbines. So in this area is also key for the sector. Then also another line, it's the anchoring devices, also very linked to the mooring systems. You can see there also another lines related to the recycling of different components of the floating wind turbine. Also regarding the actuation system and control strategies, this is very linked to the turbine itself, to the components that go inside the nacelle, and also the development of thermal management systems, very linked to the cooling solutions that are inside the nacelle. And last, it will be the area of how to measure the resource and the impact analysis and studies inside for the floating offshore wind farms. In this sense, these lines maybe are less relevant than the others, I could say, but also of interest for the companies here and for the sector itself, I would say. But we have the wave and wind resource characterization and forecasting, always important because these areas are not yet really defined, the areas of floating offshore wind farms. So it is important to make a wave and wind characterization. The maritime spatial planning, here in Spain, we have had already the definition of this plan, but it's quite important to have a good maritime spatial planning to develop then the offshore wind farms in the right places and define the differences between the fishing and probably the other kind of activities that will be developed in these areas. And then the environmental impact, of course, also a critical analysis that has to be done before installing the floating wind turbines. And finally, also the green hydrogen that could be linked to the installation of floating offshore wind farms. It's also quite an interesting area that it's now being looked at. So basically, yeah, that was my presentation. I mean, yeah, basically that was my presentation. Sorry if I was going too quick, but as I said, you will have all this information in detail. We have a document of 30 pages. If there are any questions in this regard, we may be able to answer some. If not, we can put you in contact with the companies that are developing these lines of technologies. So you can receive a direct answer from them that will be the experts in each area. Thank you.
はい、ありがとうございました。では続きまして、 多くのバスク企業を代表いたして、長い経験を持ち、及びコネクタの設計、製造を手掛けるシャビエレ・アゲイリ氏より同社の事業概要を
Yes. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yes, okay. So good afternoon. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this seminar. So my name is 𝗲𝗷𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲. I'm the commercial director for floating wind here at 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲. So I've been working in the company for almost 20 years, and now from the last years I'm responsible for this amazing market. So I've been several times in Japan. Good to see how the market is progressing there. And as I will explain in the presentation, we have good experience with some projects there in Japan. So I will share now the presentation. Let's see if I can read. Okay. Good. So today I will cover the following topics. First, I will introduce our company, 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲 Marine. Then I will explain our experience in the floating offshore wind market. And finally, I will present some developments or a new specific development that we made for this floating wind market. So 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲 Marine introduction. We are a family-owned company with a long tradition in business. We started to supply the first chains for the offshore market back in the 1960 for the first oil and gas floating unit in the States, and then we have been in the offshore market since that. During the last years, we are really involved in the floating wind market, as we see a really promising, a very promising market for us worldwide, and also and especially in Japan. So what we do, we design, manufacture, and maintain mooring components, especially mooring chains and mooring connectors. We have 5 production facilities, 4 dedicated to chain manufacturing and another one for connectors. We also have one in-house R&D unit that is called 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲𝗲𝗲 Marine Innovation, that is helping us to develop new solutions, new products for our clients. So we are located in the Basque Country in Spain. We are close to Bilbao. Here is where we have our headquarters, and here is where we have our 3 main facilities. One for chain, one for connectors, and one over our R&D unit. Then we also have 3 facilities abroad, one in Sweden, one in Brazil, and one in China. So we are involved in the whole project life cycles. I mean, we offer engineering, we do manufacturing, and we offer services. So from the engineering side, what we do is mooring analysis and structural analysis. We do detailed equipment design. We optimize mooring components. We develop new products. We can do special studies, strength, fatigue studies that are quite demanding for the floating wind market. We develop subsea solutions, installation methods. So we are not only manufacture components, but we also offer engineering services. About manufacturing, yes, normally we are known because of being a chain manufacturer. We can produce chains from 50 millimeters up to 220 in diameter. But we also develop connectors, special connectors, quite tailor-made solutions like tensioning systems, pool connectors, subsea connectors. We can produce any steel grade for offshore, from the R3 grade up to R6, so from the weakest to the strongest, and any kind of mooring connector. I mean, any kind of device that the mooring line can have, we can supply. And then we are also offering services. We are doing offshore and onshore inspections in order to follow up in order to monitor how the mooring lines are behaving. We can apply NDE, 3D scanning. We have in-house testing facilities. We have a brake testing machine. We have a fatigue testing machine, laboratories in order to support these assessments. And at the end of the day, what we are doing is to assess how the chains or the mooring lines are behaving, if they are working as per the design. And also what we are doing is assess how much life is remaining. I mean, if a developer wants to extend the life of a project, we can do the assessments about the condition of the mooring lines. So the message is that, of course, we are manufacturers of mooring components, but we are offering also engineering and also maintenance services. This is what we do. And then I will explain now the experience that we have in floating wind. Well, we have been involved in most of the projects worldwide. I mean, especially in Europe, because it's where most of the projects has been developed. But we have also a couple of experience in Japan. Later I will have one slide to talk about the project that we supply the chains for at Hibiki in Kitakyushu, the one the project sponsored by NEDO and installed in 2017. But we have been involved in most of the technologies. I mean, we have been involved in floaters, in spar type floaters, semi-subs, TLPs, floaters made in concrete, floaters made in steel. So you have there the list of the projects. Well, we started in High Wind Scotland, but then Windfloat Atlantic, Kincardine, and Goto in Japan. We supply some connectors in 2021, and now High Wind Tappen, and probably is the most, let's say, popular project now because it's the biggest project installed in Norway. And that is where we supply the mooring lines, the mooring chains, the connectors, and the tensioning systems. So, as I said before, we were involved in Japan in two projects. The project that we started with was the one located in Kitakyushu, sponsored by NEDO. Well, we supply the mooring chains for that project. The size of the chains were 132 millimeters in R4 grade, and we also supplied the top connectors. The picture in the left are the forged connectors that we supply for the project. These are connecting the structure, the floater to the mooring lines. So it was a good experience for us. It was our first project in Japan in regards with floating wind. And it was a really good experience because we could cooperate with the Japanese companies. We could learn from the very beginning the challenges that the project had. So we could cooperate with the Japanese companies in order to develop the solutions. Okay. Finally, the project was installed, and we are really proud of being a partner of that project. We also supply some connectors for another project in Japan that is being constructed now. That is the project developed by Toda that is will be deployed in Goto Island. Okay, so that's the experience that we had, and then a couple of slides showing one development, one product, specific solution that we develop for this market. That at the end of the day, well, as you know, all the players in the market had one common target, that is to reduce the costs of the sector, of the technologies, in order to make the floating wind a competitive market. I mean, for this reason, it's really important to develop innovative solutions. This can be new materials, new components, new installation methods. But for us, what is really, really important is one of the messages that we want to send is that we really need to be, the supply chain in general needs to be early engaged with the developers, with the technology providers, in order to understand the challenges in the projects, both technically and also in regards with the budget, to find the correct solutions. This is what we try to do. This is what we did in the past in some projects. And by doing that, we could, for example, develop a specific solution for this market. Today, I will explain a little bit about this specific solution for mooring systems. But of course, there are others. And if after this webinar somebody is interested to learn more about this or any other component, please just contact us and we will be very happy to explain. But today I will take some minutes to talk about the tensioners. Well, tensioners at the end is a permanent mooring connector. It simplifies the floater, allows line tensioning and retensioning. It's disconnectable. I mean, allows to disconnect the mooring lines just in case maintenance is needed. And it's you have a flexible location. I mean, it can be located at the hull. It can be located at the mid-water. It can be in the seabed or the anchor. Well, I'm not going to enter in too much into the details, but the message is that, well, it's quite a simple component to be installed by typical installation vessels, anchor handling vessels. You can see in the videos how it's deployed in one of the projects. So at the end of the day, this is a tested component. It has been used in some projects. For example, it was used in the DEMOSAT project in the Basque Country area, but also used in 𝗲𝗯𝗷𝗲𝗃𝗲. I'd say before, it's a permanent mooring component. It means that it needs to be designed to be there in the line for the whole project lifetime. I mean, for 20, 25 years, 30 years. It's possible to be disconnectable. I mean, you can disconnect the mooring line if needed. I mean, if you need to make heavy maintenance in the turbine, for example, and you need to tow the turbine to the port, this is something that the system allows you. At the end of the day, with the system, you can reduce any kind of tensioning system in the floater. So you reduce the space, you reduce weight, you reduce cost. And also by deploying this system, you are also reducing the installation times that in the offshore, it's really something quite important in regard with costs. So I think that was my last slide. So again, just to summarize that for us it's really important to be engaged, to understand the challenge, to cooperate from the very beginning in the projects. Even probably today we need to wait some years to have commercial projects in the water. In Japan, for example, is now the time to start collaborating, to start developing the solutions to make that happen. And so that's all from my side. We are really willing to cooperate with you. And of course, I will be more than happy to respond to your questions, if any, after the seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Then we are going to have the next presentation from Mr. Makoto Asakawa, General Manager, Technical Group, Renewable Energy Division of the Kansai Electric Power Company. KEPCO's wind initiatives and the bird type a floating offshore wind demonstration project will be introduced in this presentation. The project's name is 𝗲𝗯𝗷𝗲𝗲.
Thank you for the introduction. I am Asakawa. Do you hear me? Let me share my screen.
はい。それではですね、バスクの、サイテックという会社なんですけども、関西電力と、協力。
Kansai Electric Power Company working together with SciTech technology in Basque Country. And then I'll talk about the Demosas project. First, let me first give the overview of Kansai Electric Power Company or KEPCO. KEPCO is one of the utilities in Japan, and the food service area is shown in the pink color on this Japanese map. It was established in 1951. Since then, the company has been involved in various projects, the hydraulics, and then renewable energy, and then we have expanded our business areas to biomass, solar energy, or wind power. And in 2021, we declared Zero Carbon Vision 2050 to have a full-fledged commitment into the renewable energy sources. And then our service area is in the Kansai region, but for hydrogen, most hydrogen power stations are outside of our service areas, and Tohoku and Hokuriku area. But when we think about the renewable energies, in the case of wind turbine, we have the business in Hokkaido, Kyushu, and then biomass in Fukuoka and Fukushima. So we have a lot of development projects of the power generation across the country. And talking about the strategy, with the Zero Carbon Vision 2050 was established in 2021, and we have been spending a lot of efforts to achieve that. And then our goal, as you see, we have been developed 4 million kilowatts, mostly hydrogen. And then by 2040, we will develop new power stations with renewable energy sources in Japan, which is equivalent to 5 gigawatts. And particularly in Japan, as I said at the beginning, we have a biomass plant in Kanda, and then Akita and then Noshiro, we are a big, small-sized shareholder. And in overseas business, we have joined the project in Triton, Nord, and Namgue power plant in Laos, which is the hydrogen power development in Laos.
国内の再生可能エネルギーということに関して、あと500万キロワットですね、2040年。
Focus is now in Japan for the new development of 5 gigawatts by 2040, which is an ambitious target. The oldest hydrogen power station was established in the 19th century, even before the company was established. And then spending 40 years, it achieved 4 gigawatts. And in addition, we have to build newly 5 gigawatts capacity by 2040. And in order to achieve our goals, we would promote the development of bottom fixed type offshore wind farms, because which is the major market in Japan. And then the second item is to accelerate the development of the floating offshore wind farm. We will shift our focus more on the floating offshore wind farm because of the capacity of the power in Japan. As you know, we have a large EEZ. Therefore, and which has a high energy potential. Having said that, the Japan's geology, due to the Japan's geology, we have a very deep sea. Therefore, we believe that there is a huge potential of the floating offshore wind farms rather than bottom fixing type offshore.
で、そこでですね、じゃあどうしていこうかというと、やはり
So with that goal in mind, what we have to do is to collaborate with companies in Europe who are advanced in this area. We also have some shares in various companies, and then one of that is Basque company and collaboration with the Basque company.
いろいろな方からお話がありました通りですね。
Already some speakers talked about this project, which is called the @𝗲𝗄𝗲𝗲 project, which is the Basque country and the demonstration project in the north of the country. There are different types of offshore wind farms, barge, spar, and TLP, and then others. And for this project, we focused on the barge type floating offshore wind turbine with 2 megawatts in capacity. And this is the demonstration for 2 years. Starting in September 2023, and participants include 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲 Offshore, RWE, and then as Kansai Electric Power Company.
で、今ですね、もう設置は終わりまして、もう OM で
The installation was complete,
発電所をやってるんです
and
け
then
ども、
now we are in the
ちょうどですね、
operation
我々が参
phase.
画したのがちょうど1年前になります。2023年。
Exactly 1 year ago, we joined this project in 2023.
建設にギリギリ間に合って、建設にも関わらせてい
So
ただいたというふうに、
we were
こういった
part
とこ
of
ろ
the
でですね、
construction phase,
日本国内ではなかなか学べないよ
which
う
gave
な
us
ことを
a
ですね、
great
学ばせていただい
opportunity
てい
to
るという
learn
ことでございます。で、
many things.
このプロジェクトに参加して、かつですね、
And as we
人材
joined
と
this
いうものもちょっ
project,
と派遣させて
and we also
させていただいて
dispatched
です
our
ね、
members
採択さんので
to
決
this
めていただい
site,
てですね、
and then
ちょっと
they are
こういう言い方はあれ
accepted
ですけ
by
ども、勉
SciTech,
強させていただいていると
and
いうふうな
then
ことでございます。で、ちょっと2人の人材がですね、
we dispatched 2 members who learn from SciTech. I'd like to share the experiences of them. This is the first person. As a civil engineer, he has a lot of experience, and currently he is dedicated into the floating wind farm project. And SciTech is a construction company. Therefore, many people have civil engineering experiences and a background. So there are many common factors between them and then him, Mr. Tsuji. the floating structure design and wind turbine maintenance are the main areas of expertise. And he said that there are many things in common between Basque and the Japanese people in terms of the mindset and approach, and he enjoyed the food, local food, and he is originally the civil engineering. So he didn't have much knowledge about mechanical engineering, and by working with the SciTech members, he learned a lot of things from them. And then he said it is a great opportunity for him. And the Basque people are very kind to him. The other member is very young person who just joined the company. And then in the second or third year after joining the company, he was dispatched to the Basque country. And his purpose is to learn about O&M from SciTech. And then he said that he was impressed by the well-established supply chain, and then also the great collaboration between the industry and academia. And he was so much impressed by the design, which is supported by the academia, based on the collaboration with research institute and the universities, and the hydrodynamic experiments were conducted. And of course, he's faced with language barriers. Because some members speak only Spanish, but he said that people in Basque were very kind, and he is told as a Japanese, but Basque people, generally speaking, very tall in size, so he's not conspicuous among the Basque people. And talking about the Demosas, what is the reason why the Kansai decided to participate in this project? These are the reasons for that. And then, please, I'd like to draw your attention to this red part. This is a demonstration project, but the SciTech organized workshops to provide learning opportunities, and then of course also discussions, which is a great opportunity to Kansai Electric. And this shows the first workshop scene. 5 members were sent to Japan to talk about the design, mooring system, construction, operation, and then also had project review in so details. And we had great discussions with them. I myself was involved for many years in various overseas projects for hydroelectric power stations. And so I have a lot of friends from many countries, the US, Sweden, Norway, Germany, Finland, Spain, Italy, and others. So I have seen a lot of people from different countries, but Basque people. So excellent compared to other people from other countries. I am so impressed by the excellency of the Basque people. And talking of the Basque people, you see the simple and the sturdy. So they are very hardworking, diligent, and sincere. And to be honest, I think people in Basque are very smart and excellent, extremely excellent. Those 5 members who came to Japan are well versed with floating technology and knowledge, and they are very sincere to interact with us. And I did certain research about the Basque.
世界一周旅行を成し遂げたのは誰だと言われると、日本人の場合は通常マゼランって答えるんですけど、
when we asked who completed the first around the world voyage, the Japanese people often said that the Magellan, but actually the Juan Sebastian Elcano, who is a Basque person, actually made the first round the world trip in the world. And when we think about some historic figures, but this person might be the greatest person of all. And then as you see, this 2,000 yen bill, which is not so much circulated in Japan, but you can get this 2,000 yen bill in a bank in Basque Country. And the Murasaki Shikibu is said to be the world first writer of the novels. And then when we think about the Basque people, there are many excellent football coaches, and you see there are three teams, the Liga, Premier League, and the Bundesliga. And then the teams in red has the Basque coach. And then you see in three teams, there are a lot of coaches, the Basque coaches, and the Premier team. The head of the three teams are Basque people, and then Bayer Leverkusen was also headed by a Basque coach. But now, I would not surprised to see these statistics because I know how excellent Basque people are now based on my experience. With this, I'd like to conclude my presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Asakawa. Thank you very much for your comments. And then we'd like to invite our last speaker from Iberdrola, one of the world's largest power companies and the leader in offshore wind projects around the world, including Japan. We are pleased to have with us Ms. Nakayama Chikako, the country manager for Japan. She started her career as a process engineer at an energy company and had since then involved in the success of hundreds of billions of yen projects. And today she will give us an overview of Iberdrola's latest initiatives, and then also Happo Noshiro projects, and then also the partnership with Japanese companies.
Nakayama-san, ミュートをオフにしてもらっていいですか？すいません。
Nakayama-san, you are on mute.
はい。今、こちらスライド見えてますか？
So can you see my slide?
見えてます。
Yes. Good.
はい。イベルドローラリニューアブルズジャパン、カントリーマネージャーの
I'm Chikako Nakayama, Country Manager, Iberdrola Renewables Japan 株式会社. Very nice to meet you.
総合電力
So Iberdrola is a comprehensive global power company. Its market cap is the second in the world in this industry. In particular, there are some differences between ourselves and other companies. So 57% of the power comes from renewable sources. In Europe, then we handle mainly renewable power, so our share prices have a strong tendency to go up because of the we heavily source our power for renewable sources, and that pushed up our market capitalization. In the power industry, the Iberdrola has taken the leadership for a long time. However, It is very difficult to achieve decarbonization only with green power. So that's why Iberdrola have other sources, let's say ammonium or hydrogen, aside from green powers. So some of our initiatives, so it's not only about power generation. So when we generate power, we use wind, solar, or offshore wind, and hydropower. So these are main source of renewable energy, but besides this, we also handle distribution and transmission. And on the right-hand side of the slide, we produce green hydrogen, ammonia, and methanol. And eventually, our business includes energy storage or EV. So think about these technologies, then we help the world to decarbonize. So Iberdrola's footprint. Iberdrola Renewables Japan. It was established in December 2020. So we bought a company called Acacia. So our position in Japan. So we utilize our full capacity to help Japan decarbonize. So our current initiatives, then offshore wind. So 𝗲𝗯𝗷𝗲𝗲𝗲 on March 22nd, we were awarded the contract. So our main focus is offshore wind as for now. And onshore wind or battery demand response or virtual power plant, and further on hydrogen or ammonium, green hydrogen or methanol. So those will be our business portfolio. So why does Iberdrola have its footprint in Japan? Well, the Iberdrola mainly acted in Europe before. So Spain and other European countries, and also Latin America, Brazil, Mexico, and North America, and Australia. We have covered these areas. Our business was quite successful in these areas, but if we think about future growth, then Asia should be our business portfolio too. Then, what place in Asia? Then power demand is very high in Japan, and Japan is stable in terms of its politics, and above anything, 60% of electric power is generated depending on fossil fuel. So this seems to be a great opportunity for Iberdrola. So we selected Japan as a strategic move. So that created Iberdrola Renewables Japan, its Japanese company. So offshore wind portfolio in the world. Scottish Power, which is a Scotland power company, we bought this company. That was the starting point. It took place in 2007. Since then in offshore wind, we have developed the offshore wind power industry. So this slide shows our global portfolio. 1.8 gigawatt size turbine, this is in operation, and 3.0 gigawatt. This size is under construction now. So several projects are already in operation in Germany, the Wikinger, and UK. We have two projects in France currently in operation. And orange font, Baltic Eagle, this is in Germany, and East Anglia and Vineyard, these are in the United States. So these projects are under construction now. 1.8 gigawatt in operation, 3 gigawatt under construction. So this is the most advanced, I should say. And furthermore, about offshore wind. And gradually, the global trend seems to be more floating platforms in France and in other countries in Europe. Then Iberdrola has already started its floating platform. So we are currently in the process of supplier selections. This slide shows Iberdrola's 𝗲𝗯 project. We have secured this project recently. This is a fixed bottom project, not floating platform. So the location is Akita Prefecture, the Noshiro city. Our partner is our partner includes ERE, ENEOS Renewable Japan, Tohoku Electric, and Akita Bank. These three companies are our partners in this project. 375 megawatt size. It is not very large, however, this is a new place in Japan. I think this is a very good size for a start. So it covers 34 square kilometers, and our plan is to use 15 megawatt Vestas wind turbines. So we plan to start operation in June 2029. So this slide shows our organization. On the left-hand side, construction phase, then we have ENEOS Renewable Energy, Tohoku Electric and Power. So Iberdrola will work with these two companies in construction. So Vestas Japan will supply wind turbines, then foundations and subsea cables will be constructed by Japanese companies, as you can see on the slide. On the right-hand side, operation and maintenance phase, then in the first 10 to 15 years, then we will have helps from Vestas, but as we go ahead, making things in-house or doing operation and maintenance ourselves will be necessary. That's how we plan. So Iberdrola should be the centerpiece of this self-operation and maintenance that is stated in the contract. So we will work with ENEOS Renewable Energy and Iberdrola Renewable Japan and Tohoku Electric and Power Company's subsidiary will join in the operation of operation and maintenance. So this is how we will conduct O&M after 10 or 15 years. About partnership, the objective of going into partnership is synergy effect. So these partners should complement each other. They have strong points and weak points. So in our partnership or consortium, this is no exception. So each company has its strength and they should show their strengths in this partnership. ENEOS Renewable Energy Japan, as you know, this is the largest fossil fuel company in Japan. and they have experience in solar and wind. So mainly, ENEOS have responsibility with getting consent from local community, including fishing communities. So, ENEOS Renewable Energy Corporation is the representative of this consortium. And then next, 𝗲𝗯𝗷𝗲𝗲𝗲 Renewables Japan. Its main role is to support engineering and construction, or HSE, and quality management, and O&M. And further down, project management as well, and construction management. So integration of technological elements will be the responsibility of 𝗲𝗯𝗷𝗲𝗲. Next, Tohoku Electric and Power. So Tohoku Electric is mainly responsible for onshore design and construction. For example, then connecting to the grid, or they will show their expertise as a utility company in Japan. Then, lastly but not least, Akita Bank. Its role is to plan ahead about how to contribute to the local community. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Nakayama. Thank you again for presenters. Then we now are going into the Q&A session. So we have had some questions during the broadcast. Thank you very much for your questions. Then before giving you answers, then at the time of registration, we already had some questions. So I think we will ask the presenter to answer these questions.
Okay. The first question is addressed to Mr. Asakawa. There are two questions. So you can combine your answers to these two questions. The first is about, could you explain the advantages of floating offshore wind power generation that 𝗲𝗏𝗲 is conducting and how it differs from other methods? And then the second is, are there any updates on the floating 2 megawatt tower? Is it already in a commercialized or the prototype phase? Mr. Asakawa, if you please. Thank you for the questions. To the first question, the benefits of the floating, this is particularly for the Japanese company. In many cases, the floating type is the when we think about the capacity and the demand, and when we have the ambitious targets, sometimes you cannot catch up with the manufacturing required manufacturing capabilities, and therefore, when you think about the supply chain, concrete plans are located in various locations. Therefore, the supply chain is a very important factor. And then another factor is the single point mooring system. So at any time, this can be optimized in any direction of the wind. Therefore, the external force is optimized in the direction And then that would resulted in the enhanced efficiency of the power generation. This is one point. And the second, to 2 megawatt power, the demonstration is already completed. Therefore, it is no longer prototype. It is already in the demonstration stage. Having said that, when we think about the market trends in the future, probably 2 megawatts is not enough. We have to enlarge into probably 15 megawatts or so. I may not be in the position to answer to this question because I'm not participating in this, but SciTech is engaged in that large-scale floating type wind farms.
はい、どうもありがとうございます。
Thank you. Since time is limited, we would move on to the next question. This is to Mr. Xavier. What enabled you to enter the Japanese market? Did you attend the trade fairs or through the trading companies, or how did you decide to go into the Japanese market? And is there any specific collaboration with Japanese companies?
Well, I mean, as introduced in the presentation, we have been involved in the offshore business for many years. So we had quite, let's say, we were quite active in exploring new markets for many years now. In the last with Japan, yes, well, in fact, we had the experience to supply chains for the shipyards that were constructing vessels there for many years. So we had the presence already in that market. But it's true that, by participating in the events or trying to explore new markets, well, we were engaged with companies in Japan. We had good conversations with NEDO in order to understand the projects that they were working on, and we also had managed to get contacts from different companies there, like Glocal or Hitachi Zosen or any other that we worked in the past. So again, now we are traveling periodically to Japan. We are active participating in seminars, in exhibitions, in order to have a good contact with Japanese companies. Okay.
Yes. 失礼しました。ちょっと接続にエラーがありました。ありがとうございました。回答の方。
Thank you for the answer. I would like to receive the last question.
お伺いできればというふうに回答させていただければと思っております。こちら全体に関するバスクと日本全体に関する
This is about the Japan and then the Basque Country. Is there any specific scheme for the collaboration between Japanese and Basque countries? And if there is any scheme for the Japanese companies to approach and contact the companies in the Basque Country? So Ms. Kato will answer this question.
はい、ご質問ありがとうございます。
Thank you for the question.
そうですね、スキームというかですね、基本
It is not a scheme, but basically for Japanese companies, we are the contact point, the Basque Trade and Investment Japan. So please contact us so that we will be connecting you with relevant organizations or divisions. And then also we organize various matching events or the tours, observation tours. So it's a good opportunity for you to participate in these events. Business matching and observation tour, we also offer to individual companies these opportunities. So if you are interested in a particular company, or if you have a schedule to go to the Basque Country, you may contact us so that we can arrange some specific tour of the observation or the meeting arranged for you. And then later on, we will send you a questionnaire after the seminar is over. So if you have any specific interest, please indicate them on the questionnaire so that we will contact you and then arrange some meetings or some opportunities to talk with the Japanese companies. I hope this answers your question. Thank you. So these are the questions that we have received. Now, I would like to hand over to Mr. Ueda once again from JWPA to have closing remarks. Mr. Ueda, if you please.
JWPA 上田です。
今日は2時間、Ueda once again from JWPA. We will spend 2 hours in this seminar. Thank you very much for your participation until the end. And then speakers,
どうもありがとうございました。
thank you very much to all the
バスクと日本
speakers.
企業の成功例っていうことですけど、
For the good examples of the collaboration between Japanese and Basque companies, in addition to the cases that you have heard about 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗃𝗲 and then 𝗲𝘃𝗲𝗲𝗲, the similar French has collaboration with the Basque company to supply the flanges such as monopiles and others to Southeast Asian countries. So 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲 will be in charge of the furnace, and the Shimoda flange is to receive that and then give some finishing in order to reduce the delivery time to compete with Chinese and then other Asian companies. Therefore, the Japanese companies who can leverage with its own strengths to collaborate with European companies to go into the European market. And then there might be more such cases in the future. Therefore, I encourage you to visit to Basque, and then we have the event once in 2 years in the spring. And then there are many companies, including the Vicinary and 𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗲, they are very much open to welcome visitors from Japan. So I encourage you to participate in that kind of event to have the contact with the countries, companies in Basque. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ueda. With this, we'd like to conclude today's seminar. Once again, to all the speakers and then participants, audience, thank you very much for your time. And then today's recorded session will be archived on SPRI's YouTube channel so that it will be available for viewing at any time later. The Basque Trade and Investment will continue to host webinars and events on offshore wind energy. Therefore, for our future reference, we would appreciate your cooperation in answering the question that we sent to you by email after the session, as Ms. Kato mentioned earlier. And we also organized the matching events between Japanese and Basque companies. So if you wish to receive such information or meet us, please contact us first so that you can start exchange information with companies in the Basque country. If you wish to do so, please indicate so in the questionnaire. We will contact you shortly after we receive your intentions. With this, we would like to conclude today's seminar. Thank you once again for your attendance, and we are looking forward to seeing you again. Thank you.